Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. Patrick Frazee has court tomorrow. We're going to talk about a horrific case in Chicago. Jussie Smollett's court file has been unsealed. We have the dumb criminal of the week and a personal word about some of the comments that I've received. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. I appreciate you tuning in and watching. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Please leave a like button and definitely leave a comment. For those of you who are not familiar with the Patrick Frazee case, let's give a quick synopsis. Mr. Patrick Frazee is charged and presumed innocent of killing his former girlfriend and mother of his child, Kelsey Barrett. Miss Barrett went missing right around Thanksgiving. Mr. Patrick Frazee was the last person to be seen with him, and he was arrested shortly thereafter. Things got really interesting when the ex-girlfriend / maybe current girlfriend of Mr. Patrick Frazee, a nurse by the name of Krystal Jean Lee, was also arrested and pled guilty in an arranged agreement for her cooperation to tampering with evidence. She received a very favorable disposition. Her attorney did a very good job for her because she pled guilty to a Class 6 felony, and after her cooperation against Mr. Frazee, could face no more than 18 months in prison. What is really somewhat disturbing about this particular case is that Miss Barrett's body has never been recovered. The police just spent some 3 weeks to close to a month going through a landfill where they thought that they were going to find something of evidentiary value that would maybe lead to the discovery of the remains of Miss Barrett. To date, nothing has been recovered. The nurse, Krystal Jean Lee, stated in her interviews with the police that Mr. Frazee had asked her on 3 occasions to kill Miss Barrett. She apparently went to the home of Miss Barrett on 3 occasions but chickened out, and ultimately she alleges Mr. Frazee killed Kelsey Barrett and then receives a call while she is in Idaho, drives to Denver, cleans up the crime scene, and helps to dispose of Miss Barrett's body. This case is set for an arraignment tomorrow. Don't expect any further delays in this particular case because the court has given both the prosecution and defense additional time to see how things were going to develop. So tomorrow, it's unlikely that any sort of plea of guilty would be entered based upon what I am aware of to date. It is anticipated that Mr. Frazee, through counsel, will enter a plea of not guilty, and now the state of Colorado will have 6 months from tomorrow to get him to trial. Given the delay that the court has granted at the front end of the case, it's anticipated that motions would have to be filed usually within 28 to 35 days of tomorrow's date, and a motions hearing would probably be set out about 60 days from there, and a trial date about 5 months out to give that little buffer in case the case needs to be continued. We'll let you know if there's any new developments. There's a horrific case in Chicago right now. Marlene Ochoa-Lopez was lured to a house to pick up some free baby clothes from a Facebook group. When she arrived there, she was strangled to death, and her baby was cut from her body, is what is alleged to have happened by the police. Miss Ochoa-Lopez was 9 months pregnant and went missing on April 23rd after leaving her high school. According to police reports, Miss Ochoa-Lopez had had no contact with her family, and the police had no idea where to find her. 3 people were ultimately arrested and charged with the death of Miss Ochoa-Lopez and the removal of her child from her wound. The prime suspect in this case is a 46-year-old woman named Clarissa Figueroa. And it is alleged that Miss Figueroa and her daughter, who's 24 years old, Desiree Figueroa, strangled Ochoa-Lopez with a coax cable. Then they allegedly cut the baby out of the womb and disposed of the body in a trash can outside of the house. After Ochoa-Lopez was deceased, Figueroa called 911 because the baby wasn't breathing. When the paramedics arrived, the baby was a newborn who was having trouble breathing and was transported to the hospital in critical condition. Figueroa, who called the police, was also taken to the hospital in an ambulance and, according to police, claimed that she was the baby's mother. The hospital is now being criticized for not putting two and two together, the fact that the woman who contacted the police, who had blood on her arms, a child that wasn't breathing, but couldn't say that she was in fact the mother. It is reported that Desiree Figueroa confessed to the police, and she and her mother are both charged with first-degree murder and aggravated battery of a child. Clarissa Figueroa's boyfriend is also accused of helping to conceal the crime. Miss Ochoa-Lopez's husband has been visiting the hospital, and although the child was originally in a coma, apparently the child is doing much better. So when I heard about the Ochoa-Lopez case in Chicago, obviously it was a disturbing story. But what is even more disturbing is this is not the first time this has happened. In Colorado, in April of 2016, Danelle Lane, who was 35, who was a former nurse's aide, had lured a young woman to her residence, stating that she was selling baby clothes. The victim in that particular case, a Miss Wilkins, came to the house into Longmont, which was just about 40 miles north of Denver for those who aren't familiar with the area. Miss Lane beat and stabbed Miss Wilkins, cut into her uterus, and removed the fetus, according to the prosecutors and the testimony that came out at trial. The partner of Miss Lane came home unaware of the fact that Ms. Wilkins was bleeding to death in the basement. Miss Lane convinced her partner that she had given birth, she had faked this pregnancy, and that they had to go to the hospital. In the meantime, Ms. Wilkins was in the basement of the home, bleeding, but was able to get away, called 911, and ultimately did survive. The unborn child did not survive. Miss Lane was ultimately charged and convicted of attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and unlawful termination of a pregnancy. Prosecutors didn't pursue murder of the charge for the unborn child because under Colorado law, it didn't recognize a person until it was capable of surviving outside of the wound. Now, Lane admitted through her defense at trial that Ms. Wilkins had somehow attacked her and that she had to stab Miss Wilkins, and therefore she had to, worrying about the survivability of the child, then basically performed a at-home C-section and removed the child, which ultimately passed away. Neither the jury nor the judge were sympathetic, and she was found guilty of all counts, and at sentencing received a 100-year sentence. Those 2 cases make you wonder what in the hell is going on in the world. Today, the judge in the Jussie Smollett case ordered that his court file should be unsealed. To make a long story short, Mr. Smollett made these accusations. It turned out that the accusations were in fact false and that the whole situation was staged by basically actors that Mr. Smollett had paid to attack him. The 16 counts of these false statements, most people were shocked and surprised when the prosecutor dismissed the case basically with some useful public service and closed the matter. The Chicago police were upset by that, but the case was sealed and that was the end of it. An investigation has been initiated to investigate the Cook County District Attorney, who said that she had recused herself from the case, even though she had contact with the prosecutor. That investigation is ongoing. The court file here will not have much information in it other than the original charges, the affidavit, as well as the dismissal paperwork. So that's not going to be it. to find out what was happening as far as the plea negotiations and how that turned out. That result will come from the investigation. The District Attorney's Council wrote an open letter regarding this matter and said that they were appalled by the plea offer in this particular case. As a criminal defense attorney who's practiced for some nearly 25 years, if I were to get that disposition for my client, I would be happy as a clam. As a member of the community, I was a little shocked and surprised by that disposition and not sure why it took place. We will see if anything comes of that, and if it does, we will be here to talk about it at Crime Talk. Back by popular demand, we have the Dumb Criminal of the Week contestants. Our first contestant on the Dumb Criminal of the Week comes from Louisiana. It is alleged by the victim that he invited Anisha Speed into his home due to them hanging out earlier in the day. The Baton Rouge Police Department officer noted in the affidavit that Miss Speed asked for the victim to pleasure her, and he declined. At that point, Miss Speed produced a .40 caliber handgun and demanded that she be pleasured, stating that if he declined, she would shoot him. The victim responded by grabbing Speed's wrist, which led her to fire the weapon. The round, however, didn't strike the victim. The man then jumped from the second-floor balcony to avoid getting shot again, and it's reported that Miss Speed then fired another shot at him. After Miss Speed was advised of her Miranda rights, she reportedly admitted to also taking a shotgun and a PlayStation from the victim's residence, and those items were ultimately recovered. Miss Speed is now charged with multiple felonies, including second-degree attempted murder, illegal discharge of a firearm, and theft of a firearm. She was booked into the Baton Rouge Parish Prison and has been released on a $17,000 bond. Our next Dumb Criminal of the Week comes from Washington State. A young man, Cameron Jeffrey Wilson, who's 27, apparently had a pistol tucked in his front pocket while at his apartment on April 5th. The firearm apparently accidentally discharged, sending the bullet through his testicle and into his thigh. To avoid being charged with unlawful possession of a firearm, Mr. Wilson's girlfriend reportedly drove him to his friend's house, where he left the pistol before heading to the hospital for surgery. Just when you think Mr. Wilson's luck couldn't get any worse, it does. Mr. Wilson, when he was dropping off the firearm, also apparently forgot to get rid of other incriminated evidence on or in his person. While Mr. Wilson was trying to get rid of the firearm, he apparently forgot to get rid of some other incriminating evidence. For example, the marijuana balloons that were in his rectum. And during surgery, he must have been a little more relaxed, and those little balloons slipped out of his rectal cavity. Once the police were informed by the medical staff of what had taken place, the police then went and searched the vehicle of Mr. Wilson. And of course, what do they find? More drugs, but this time, methamphetamine. The police, who were somewhat sympathetic to Mr. Wilson's plight and unfortunate set of circumstances that he had found himself in, did not immediately arrest him and told him to surrender to the police department within 2 days for booking an arrest. The medications from the surgery must have been affecting Mr. Wilson's good decision-making skills, because when he was booked into evidence, he once again forgot to remove the marijuana balloons in his rectum. Now, on top of the additional charge of unlawful possession of a firearm because he was a convicted felon, unlawful possession of a controlled substance, he's now charged with possession of a controlled substance in a correctional facility. But wait, there's more. Just when Mr. Wilson couldn't think it could get any more ridiculous or any worse for him, no, there's more. He is now charged with witness tampering because the police were listening to his phone calls from jail to his girlfriend and asked his girlfriend not to cooperate with the investigators. That, my friends, is witness tampering. By unanimous decision, Cameron Wilson from Washington State is the winner of the Dumb Criminal of the Week. Now, the prize that Mr. Wilson will receive is, if he contacts me, he will receive his official Crime Talk mug. Now, fortunately for you all, you don't need to be a contestant on Dumb Criminal of the Week. If you would like your coffee mug, you can just hit the link. On a personal note, I would like to say thank you to everyone. We started this channel to explain in greater detail from a defense attorney's perspective what goes on and be able to educate people a little bit more than what they're going to hear on the evening news. I am pleasantly surprised and pleased with the progress that we've made, and since this channel started, we have over 85 million watch time minutes. We've received over 8 million views. We are now over 56,000 subscribers. This could not be possible without you, and we thank you for that. We are always going to try to bring you factually correct information as well as intellectually honest. Not everyone is going to agree with me and my analysis, and that's okay. I disagree with judges on nearly a daily basis. They disagree with me. But that doesn't mean that we cannot be respectful of each other's views. I've always tried to take criticism as something to learn from, as long as it is truly constructive criticism. If you want to hate me, that's okay. And you probably don't need to subscribe to me either. But I want to thank everyone else for watching, subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment. Have a great day.